Hi, you're listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. I'm so excited to have you. My name is Macy. If you're new here, welcome to the podcast. And as always, if you're a returning listener, you know I love to have you. So thank you for being here. All right, you guys, I'm back from vacation. I'm excited to talk to you. We're going to talk about defensive versus non-defensive listening. I think it's going to be a great topic to cover, especially if you're in a relationship or you have a lot of friendships or even in your work environment. This is a really good topic for better communication, more emotional intelligence around communication, and we're going to get into how to know which type of listener you currently are. And if you fall in the defensive category, I am going to share with you some tips and strategies and things to work on in order to put yourself in the non-defensive listening category. But before we do that, I just want to quickly say today is the day. Today starts early enrollment for the second round of the hybrid experience. So if you live under a rock and you don't, consistently listen to the podcast, if you're not on my email list, if you're not on my social media, you may have missed that I am running the program again. I have loved it so much. I love what it teaches and the way that my clients are showing up for themselves in that program. And we haven't even gotten to the retreat yet, but I just know that that is going to be amazing. And I really had to make the decision of if I was going to go ahead and offer this program twice a year or if it was going to be a once a year thing. And I think for people who want to continue immersing themselves in the work of, stepping into their growth, mastering the concepts that help you do that, it was important to have a continuum for anybody that deemed that important. And I love this program for doing it because I offer so much support to help get you there. Not only are we, working on your self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and mindset, but you also get all the forms of coaching available to you based on your learning style and just the experience of having multiple forms of support. So you get one-on-one coaching with me, you get a group coaching call bi-weekly as well with your peers on, specific topics that I really want to help you master that are so important in your growth and success. And then also you get to come in person to the retreat, which that is just so different, being in the energy of your peers and being in the energy of your coach, aka me. It's just a different level of that intimate connection where you get to ask and get coached on anything that you want and have that downtime for yourself, reflection time for yourself. And we all know mamas need a break. So if you're a mama and you need a space where you're growing, but you also need just like a trip for yourself and time for yourself, and you're, a community of women growing with you, this program is such a great place for that. And I have loved this first round so much, I wanted to offer it again. So today is the first day of early enrollment. It's June 5th, 2023. Early enrollment will end on June 16th, 2023. And during this time, what is so special about it is that, one, you get the opportunity to join this program with a payment plan. So there will be another enrollment period, but it's not going to come until September because the second round will start the first week of October, just a heads up. And the retreat for this next round will tentatively be around the second week of March 2024. We're going to go back to 30A for this second round. I love it so much. With that being said, though, if you join during early enrollment, you have the opportunity to get in with a payment plan. So if you're not someone that can do this with pay in full, just know that during the 2 weeks of early enrollment, you can use a payment plan to get yourself into this room and into the next round of the hybrid experience. Also, something exciting this round that wasn't offered last round is the opportunity to do a VIP option. It's only available to the first 6. It's first come, first serve. But if you get yourself into the VIP experience and treat yourself to that, you're going to get a bonus gift in your welcome box. You get to come to the retreat an entire day early before the rest of the group. We are going to mastermind together. We are going to go on a really fun yacht ride, a yacht experience, a 4-hour yacht experience with a captain and a crew. And then I'm hiring a private chef to come on board. And it's just going to be an amazing experience. Going on a yacht has been a bucket list item for me. I've never done it. I've always wanted to do it. And I love my clients so much. I know that there are probably clients out there that would love that experience as well, if that's something on their bucket list and something they really want to do. So it's available only to 6 people. It's first come, first serve. When you go to pay, you will see whether you do payment plan or pay in full, you'll see the option to just do the standard version, which is still amazing and luxurious, but you will also see an option to do the VIP experience. If you try to sign up for the VIP experience and there is no button that specifically says you're paying for the VIP experience, just know that it has already sold out, if that is the case, and that button option has been removed. Okay, I don't know how quickly or how slowly that is going to go, but people have expressed interest. So I will say, if you want to do the VIP yacht experience, private chef, mastermind, come a day early to the retreat, you're going to want to snag that sooner rather than later, because as soon as it sells out, I'm removing that option from my payment link. Okay. I'm so excited. I'm excited to see who joins next round, whether it's some returning clients or new people. I'm just excited because I think that this program brings out the very best in my clients. So I'm so excited for that. All right, announcements are officially over. Let's get into the juicy content of defensive versus non-defensive listening. So first and foremost, I will say that this is something I am still working on. It has gotten a million times better since being coached. And I started my coaching journey, like 6 years now almost, or 5 years? I don't even know, but it's been a long time. Before this, I was extremely defensive whenever people had feedback for me. It didn't matter if it was in college classes, in grad school, at work, in my relationship, family members. I was very, very defensive. So we're going to talk about how this shows up whenever you are a defensive listener. Then we're going to talk about what it looks like when you're a non-defensive listener. And we're going to talk about how to move yourself into the non-defensive listening category if you're currently there in the defensive, or if you're, working on becoming better. Maybe you're already working on this, but you see some room for improvement. Now, I will say that although I've gotten a lot better, sometimes it still comes up, and I'm usually reminded of it with people who, love me the most. They will tell me, you're being defensive and you're arguing, and I'm like, dang it, because I do want to work on this. And there's also people in my life that I know get defensive whenever I'm offering feedback or suggestions. And so sometimes with this topic, you have to just remember to be patient, especially if it's something you're working on. Be patient with yourself, be patient with other people who may or may not have this awareness within themselves. I understand that it can be very frustrating trying to communicate with defensive listeners, But remember that here in the work that I do with, my clients, with you all listening on the podcast, is that we always come back to what our work is first. So it's really easy to point the finger and blame other people as, them being the problem for why you respond the way that you respond, or why you behave the way that you behave, or do the things you do. But when you do that, you lose your power. You give it away to them. And what you ultimately end up saying is, I'm only able to be the way I want when other people behave in a way that benefits me. And it's a very powerless position to be in, because then you have to wait for them to change or even care to change in order to take responsibility for your life. So a big thing that I teach my clients is that you have to take responsibility for where you're at and do your work. The people that are around you in your life, whether it's loved ones or friends or family members or, close coworkers or whatever, they have to decide on their own time if they're going to do this work, and not everybody will. So we do not control other people. We do not force other people to change. That is up to them. The only thing that you have control over is what work you do on yourself. And sometimes when you're doing this work on yourself, people around you become so inspired by who you're becoming that you actually, without even realizing it, you inspire them to create change in their life, and then your relationships can grow stronger. But again, that will be on their own time and as they see fit. So focus on you, okay? Because I know that this episode may bring up my husband needs to listen to this, or my wife needs to listen to this, or my best friend who doesn't listen to me very good needs to listen to this. And while that may be true, and while they may benefit from listening, you and your job is to maybe offer it as a suggestion and leave it be. Don't keep begging them. Don't try to force them into something that they're not ready for. Not everybody is in a place for self-growth or to be coached or to become self-aware, because this work can be very challenging. It's, a lot of times not the easiest thing to work and evolve. And when we start the process of doing this, so anybody that's listening to this podcast, we, love who we start to become, and we love the changes that we're seeing. And a lot of times we become so self-aware that other people's behavior becomes much more loud to us, like much more visible. And we don't always love what we're seeing or who people are being as we start to grow and evolve. And so we have this urge that everybody needs to be on a path of growth because we're now on a path of growth. And it just becomes this destructive thing when you believe that other people need to do it because you're doing it, and because you're now observing things that you wish would be different in them. Just as it took you however many years, as it did for you to get here, or however old you are to arrive here, remember that they are on their own unique journey. So never force, suggest, let them come around to it if they want to. And if they don't, your work is to focus on what you're growing in, whether they participate or not. Okay. I find it very important to say that, because a lot of times whenever I'm working with my clients, they become very self-aware, and they express that the journey oftentimes feels very lonely. It's another reason that I created the hybrid experience, because in that room, all of these women are working on very similar things. They, sometimes have very similar circumstances. And rather than feeling isolated and alone, like they're the only one working on their growth when nobody else in their family or their partner or their friends are doing this work, yes, it can feel very isolating. So putting yourself in a powerful room where, multiple people are focusing on their growth and understand what you're going through can be a very helpful thing in this sometimes what feels like a very lonely journey. Okay, so let's talk about what defensive listening will look like and how this will show up in your life. First and foremost, when you are listening defensively, you are likely not paying as much attention to the words that they're saying for how you want to communicate it effectively or through emotional intelligence, but rather you're listening to have your rebuttal or argument ready. Okay, so how many of you have done this where you are listening to maybe like your partner or a friend and they're, upset and they're expressing all of these things and maybe it feels like a personal attack to you or it's something that they think you're not doing well or well enough. And rather than listen and hear them out and, hear every single word that they're saying and feel the sting of it all, you are going into la la land in your brain thinking, oh my gosh, they just said this. I can't wait to rebuttal with that, or I can't wait to argue back. You may also interrupt them. So if you're a defensive listener, instead of letting them talk, instead of letting them finish, you might feel the need to cut them off or interrupt them. That used to be a big thing for me. It's also been done to me several times. And it's challenging. Nobody likes to be interrupted or talked over or have someone raise their voice louder to be heard. And so a big piece of, emotionally intelligent listening and non-defensive listening is going to be giving them the floor, even if what they're saying feels untrue, even if it feels like, an attack to your nervous system. It's really important to just observe when you're wanting to over communicate or override whatever it is that they're saying or interrupt them. Also, you may feel as if whatever they're saying, even if it's an innocent statement or observation that they're making, you may feel like it's a personal attack and take their words personally. You may also be listening to respond versus hold space. So it kind of goes in line with the interrupting, like you're listening to almost have your argument so that you can rebuttal rather than simply hold space for their emotional experience. You may also find that you stop actively listening because you are so busy thinking about all of the things that you want to say and all of the dates you need to remember for what they've done. And it feels in your brain like maybe you want to do this tit for tat, right? Like, oh, they're bringing that up, I'm going to bring up this. Or you regress to the past. So you start thinking in past things that have happened rather than the moment at hand. Like whatever topic is being covered in this, situation where they're communicating with you, whether they're frustrated or upset or angry or whatever, you feel your brain going into the past of something that upset you in the past, and you want to bring that into the present argument. Never useful, very tempting, I understand, but it is a form of being defensive listening. Other things to look for if you're defensive listening is that you may shut down. You may ignore them altogether, or you may notice a lot of feelings that you're feeling and then repress them. When you do this, when you repress a lot of your feelings, what you're going to want to do, or what your brain is going to tell you to do, is that you need to punish or shame them for speaking out or speaking their truth, right? And that might be deciding to withdraw from them or ignore them. So the silent treatment is a big, big thing. And oh man, when I tell you I used to be amazing at the silent treatment, that is how I handled a lot of conflict. Most times it wasn't so much about me getting all of my words in. That kind of came later, actually, as I became more self-aware. More so in childhood, teenage years, young adulthood, it was to repress my feelings and to stay completely silent and to let it boil and bubble and collect all of the data that I couldn't wait to explode on them one day. And it's not ever helpful. And sometimes I can feel myself still wanting to do this, still holding in a lot of different things that have been bothering me. And I've tried to become better about expressing it no matter how uncomfortable I feel. And so maybe that's a different podcast for a different day, because when you are in a space where you want to be listening from a place of non-defensiveness, it's really important to allow those emotions to be in your body, like to feel them, but not become reactive to them. So not punish, not walk away, right? Not withdraw or ignore. And we tend to want to do this sometimes whenever we're in the heat of a conversation that we don't like. We want to just just, silent treatment them, make them feel bad. And so even if they are speaking what is their honest truth, a lot of times what we end up doing is punishing them for doing so. And then we don't realize that that is now going to impact communication, because they might now repress their own truth in order to avoid the silent treatment, because you withdraw love in that moment. What you're teaching their nervous system in that moment is it's not safe to be truthful, and it's not safe to be honest, because the condition in which I love you is that you make me feel good all the time. And right now you're not making me feel good with what you're saying. So I'm going to give you the silent treatment and walk away and punish you because I don't feel good in my nervous system. Okay. And in turn, if they're not super self-aware of what's going on in those moments, they might think, okay, well, I'm not going to even share my truth or share what's on my mind. And so then you start getting into that fuzzy line where there's not 100% honesty in the relationship, or you all aren't maybe being completely truthful, or whenever the truth does come out, it's this very explosive, doesn't feel good, never resolved kind of situation. And so defensive listening is never serving us. It feels like it is sometimes in the moment, because our ego becomes so big that, we just want to be heard. We want to scream. We want to make sure that they hear our point. We want to make sure, we let them know how they've made us feel in the past and that they're not being fair. And all of it in the heat of the moment seems like a good idea, but it's never I shouldn't say never, but a lot of times it's just not going to get you the result that you want in your partnership, in your work situation, or your work environment, or your friendships, right? Or your family relationships. It's just more of a destructive way of listening rather than a helpful, emotionally intelligent way of listening. Okay, let's talk about what it will actually look like when you are listening in a non-defensive way. You're going to feel very present throughout the conversation. Like you're really listening to hear the other person and what they have to say, okay? And even if you notice yourself, feeling some uncomfortable, maybe what we would describe as like negative emotions, right? They don't feel good in your body. Not that they're actually negative emotions, but they're just uncomfortable emotions is the best way to say it. Even if you notice that, you stay present with what is this person trying to communicate with me right now. So you feel uncomfortable and you stay present. You don't feel the need to rebuttal, to defend yourself, to tell them that they're wrong, to blame them for how you're feeling. You take just complete responsibility over your nervous system. And although it may feel terrible, you stay present and really hear the words that they're saying. What is it that they are wanting to communicate with you? Okay. So you observe your emotions, but you have impulse control. Now, I will just tell you that impulse control is a big part of the work that we do in emotional intelligence. Okay. So if you are one that will fly off the handle, if you're one that, you're quick to anger, if emotions just take over your body and you kind of lose yourself and you don't want to do that, reach out to me, because that's a big thing that I work on with my clients. So when you are in a place of non-defensive listening, you're going to observe your emotions. It's not that the emotions that you're having are bad, okay? It's not bad versus good. It's that your nervous system, anytime it feels unsafe or unsettled, will likely become defensive if you are not self-aware, especially in emotional intelligence. And as a result, you may be impulsive in how you respond. So if that is something that you want to work on, make sure that you reach out. Okay. Another form of non-defensive listening that, you can look out for is that you do observe the triggers that you're feeling, but you make the mental note that you want to address those triggers and why it's bothering you so much within yourself first before you respond to them. So a lot of times when people are having tough conversations with us, or, they're being honest from their perspective, whether you believe that they're right or you believe that they're wrong, okay? You just want to notice what triggers are happening inside of you, what thoughts are happening inside of your brain, and rather than react impulsively on them, you want to say, okay, I need to understand why what they're saying is triggering me so much. Why is this happening? And then you go inward after the fact. Like maybe you don't even respond other than saying like, I hear you. I totally hear you. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable with the feedback that you've given me or with some of the things that you mentioned, but I do think that it would be worth it for me to kind of reflect on what you said before I, really know how I want to proceed or how I want to communicate further, because I do want to take what you're saying seriously. But I want to also observe like why it feels so triggering for me. Like there are probably things with it, what you said, that I agree with, and there's some things that maybe I don't. Like maybe it's a misunderstanding, but I feel like it's important for me to explore that first. And they might not be happy with you saying that. Like they might be looking to argue. They might be looking for drama. They might want an answer right away, right? They might want you to immediately express that you're sorry, or to, apologize, or they may want a certain response for you to feel better. But when you are working on your emotional intelligence and, being a non-defensive listener, if you notice yourself being triggered, you'll hear this on the podcast all the time if you're new, just as a forewarning. If you're if you've been here a while, you probably know what I'm about to say. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. Okay, let me repeat it. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. What that means is that when you are emotionally activated, emotionally triggered, again, that impulse control is not always going to be there unless you are super self-aware of how your brain works and how emotions work and what goes on in your body. And even with this knowledge, you may fail at it sometimes. Sometimes I fail at it and I don't respond the way that I would have if I was practicing more self-awareness in those moments. So with that being said, you need to just, be okay with the fact that they may be angry with you if you say, I hear you, and I want some time to think before I come back and respond to this conversation. They're going to have their thoughts about that. They're going to have a lot of feelings about that. They may feel like you don't care. They may feel like you're bizarre because maybe in the past you would have argued back, or you would have just, apologized to pacify them, right? Even if you don't agree, whatever it is. And maybe now you take a step back, you let your emotions be there for yourself, for the situation that happened, and for even like if they're infuriated with you because you don't have a response, and you just handle yourself accordingly. And when you're ready, you can come back and say, okay, if you're open to it, I've thought a lot about what you said, and here's kind of what I'm thinking, okay? And if they are in an emotionally mature place or they want to hear it, they will. And if they don't, then they don't. Don't waste your breath. Don't fret over it. Like, we cannot control other people. And sometimes even if you're trying to do the emotionally intelligent thing, they may not be in a place where they want to do the emotionally intelligent thing. And rather than be angry and hateful towards them for it, just know how much work you're doing in order to get yourself to this place and how hard it is, and that they would have to be willing to do that, okay? So it may be very frustrating for you as someone trying to do better and be better as a human being, okay? All right, so letting them know that they are heard is important. A big piece of non-defensive listening is also staying neutral and not making what they say mean anything about you, even if it is directed towards you. What they say, okay, those are words. That's their opinion. Could it be true? Yes. Could it be false? Also yes. Okay? When they are speaking to you and you are being present and you're listening to everything that they're saying, those are just words, okay? Those words have certain meanings for them. Those words have certain meanings for you. Everything is neutral until our brain gives it meaning. And I am going to share with you the example I've given for years because I think it's the easiest way for me to showcase what neutral really means, okay? I want you to imagine that someone walks up to you, okay? It's someone you know and love, or it's a stranger, it doesn't matter. Someone walks up to you and they tell you, oh, you have the ugliest orange nose and green hairy ears, okay? The ugliest orange nose and green hairy ears. When they come up and they say that to you, I mean, think of truly someone walking up to you at the grocery store, in the park, at the pool, and saying this to you. Oh, you have the ugliest orange nose and the most hideous green hairy ears. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to take any offense to that. There's nothing in me that would take offense to that because I know I don't have an orange, ugly nose. I know that I don't have green, hairy ears. So I'm just going to think that like something is maybe not 100% working in their mind or with their eyeballs, right? Their perception is skewed. There's nothing in me that believes I have a big orange nose or green hairy ears. Their words are neutral. I give it no meaning other than the meaning that I give it is like something's not right in their brain or something's wrong with their eyes or like they're just being silly. That's the meaning I give those words. Okay? Neutral. It's totally neutral until I make it mean something. Now, let's say that same person, whether it's a stranger or someone that I know, comes up to me and they're like, oh, it kind of looks like you've gained some weight, or it kind of, I don't know that you're a good coach or podcaster. Now, I may have a completely different emotional response. But here's what's so interesting. The words that they said are still neutral until my brain gives it meaning, whatever I make it mean. So when the other person came up to me and told me I had a big, ugly orange nose and green hairy ears, I didn't make it mean anything because I didn't believe it, right? And those words meant nothing to me. The only thing that I made that neutral statement mean was that something's wrong with their eyeballs or something's wrong with their brain or they're being silly. Okay, but if that same individual comes up to me and they say something about my weight, or they say that I'm not a good podcaster, or I am, not a good coach. If I feel negatively impacted by those words, right? Letters put together to make each individual word. If I feel negative emotion in my body, uncomfortable emotion associated with that, I know that my brain has made their statement mean something, and it's probably because of something I already believe about myself. So if I believe that I've gained weight and I'm feeling insecure about it, or I'm like looking in the mirror, constantly, and I'm like, poking on my little pudgy stomach or something like that, and I just feeling all of these feelings about it and not happy with the fact that I, maybe haven't been working out or eating healthy, and then someone brings it to my attention. Their words were still neutral, but now I've given it meaning. And I might give it meaning like they're rude, like they shouldn't say those things. And obviously, guys, no, they shouldn't, right? Like people need to learn sometimes how to stay in their own lane and not say everything that they're thinking. I'm not dismissing that it would be inappropriate, right? But what I'm saying is that the heightened response that I would have to that over big orange nose, green hairy ears, both of those statements, whether they say I'm pudgy and I've gained weight, or I have a big orange nose and green hairy ears, those are all neutral statements. One, I give it meaning like I'm fat, I'm out of shape, I'm ugly, people think I'm disgusting, that they don't want to look at me, right? I could make that mean so many things. Whereas with the orange nose and green hairy ears, I could make it mean nothing. So when you are non-defensive listening, you are listening from a place of neutralness, knowing that their words are just words. Your brain will decide how to give it meaning. And if you make their words mean you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're unworthy, you're not loved, they think you're stupid, like if that's what your brain goes to, when someone's just offering feedback or constructive criticism or sharing what they feel or what they feel is their truth, if you make it mean something rather than keep it neutral, you're going to feel much more defensive. You're going to be more likely to have that lack of impulse control. Okay? So again, could what they're saying be true? Yes. Could what they're saying also be false? Yes. What are you making it mean? Okay? And if you just keep yourself in a place of neutral, active listening, you're going to have a much better result in the midst of the conversation or the way that you communicate after they've said their piece, and maybe you do want to communicate back, right? Like, you're going to be in a much better place if you don't take what they're saying personal based on what you subconsciously believe about yourself. Okay, so a lot of times when you're triggered by what other people say, it's what you subconsciously already have thought or believe about yourself. And when they say something, you believe it to be true and you take that and run with it, and it's not always for the best. Okay, so I know that I hammered that in, but that can give you so much freedom in your life if you just don't take things personally. So a lot of times whenever people are expressing an opinion, it could be a political opinion, it could be a religious opinion, it could be a relationship opinion, it could be anything. A lot of times, in order to regulate my nervous system and regulate my emotions, I listen in a very neutral, curious place. Like, oh, they said this statement. That's how their brain works. That's their thought about it. Do I agree with it? Do I not agree with it? Do I want to add something that I think about it? Like, I just don't ever take what words people are saying as a defensive thing. And I think that that serves me a lot, especially in the world that we live in today, because people get offended by everything, right? And if instead we were to listen out of curiosity and in neutralness, we'd be less offended if we didn't take what they're saying so personal, because everybody has an opinion. Okay, so I'm just thinking of examples off the top of my head, but if someone's like, I am pro-vaccine, or like vaccinating, right? I'm pro-vaccinating. And someone else says, I'm anti-vaccinating. Both of those things are neutral. I have my opinions about one or the other, right? I definitely have things I would contribute if I was asked and reasons why I think that, but I'm not going to take someone's statement as I'm an anti-vaxxer or I'm, pro-vaccinator as something that I need to become emotionally explosive over, because they might just be saying a statement of what they believe is true. So if you don't take things personal and you keep things neutral, right, you're able to kind of see how you would like to respond. Okay? Sometimes people say things because they're getting in that little sly dig or that attack, but a lot of times they're just stating like their own perception and opinion. And when you don't grab the bait because you're unaware, right, and maybe not aware of like how powerful neutrality is, you will be in a much more clean place when you communicate with people. Okay, I feel like I drove that home. All right, another form of non-defensive listening is that you let them express their truth without defense. You may ask for clarity because maybe you're confused, okay, and you want some more information. That's okay. You may ask if they want you to also bring your thoughts to the table. Sometimes people don't, okay? Sometimes they're just talking to talk. And when you are non-defensive listening or practicing, this form of listening, you can say, do you want me to bring my thoughts to the table? And they might say, nope, I'm good. And you say, okay. It's that simple, right? And if they say, yeah, bring your thoughts to the table, just be prepared that you can bring your thoughts to the table and that they may not respond to you in the most emotionally intelligent way if they're not practicing this work. And you get to decide how you proceed, okay? Asking them, like, do you just need to vent? Or would you like some feedback or advice? This is a huge thing that me and my coach friends, or my friends that have also had coaches, like we communicate this way with each other a lot of times. If one of us wants to complain or just share what's going on in life, we will start the conversation with, listen, I know that I can coach myself on this or get coached on this, but I really just need to vent. I don't want any advice or I don't want any feedback. Just let me be bitchy, right? Like we will start conversations with that. Or we will start conversations with, okay, what I'm about to say is going to sound very, very venti. I just need to get it off my chest. And then I'm open to hearing like your feedback or advice or your thoughts because I'm spiraling or I want the feedback. Okay. Sometimes when people talk to you, they don't want the advice. They don't want feedback. They just need to vent. And a good way to communicate with other people sometimes is to be clear on what exactly they're wanting. So do you want me to offer a solution? Do you want me to offer what I see? Do you want me to help you? Or do you just need me to hold space for you to say everything that you need to say? Like just word vomit it all out. Okay. When you are also practicing non-defensive listening, you will not feel the need to control or manipulate another person's feeling or responses. You won't be, trying to control the situation or wishing that they would have a different response or wishing that they wouldn't think that way. Like you're just going to let them be them and not feel the need to control or manipulate any part of the situation. Okay. And you will hold space for their emotional experience and your own emotional experience as they're communicating with you, even if it feels absolutely terrible. Okay. Having your own back emotionally is a skill, and it's something that I work really hard on with my clients. Emotionally having your own back, no matter what other people do or how they operate in the world. Because when you are practicing this work, it's likely going to be very different than how they operate. Your system, your nervous system is going to feel triggered, quite a bit. And creating that emotional safety and having your own back is going to be really important as you're stepping into your high self and growing, okay? So here's what needs to happen if you are a defensive listener and you want and desire to work on this skill. Okay, I'm going to give you a list. So if you want to write notes, stay curious. Stay curious with the things that they're saying, no matter who it is, a partner, a friend, a boss, right? A family member, just be in curiosity. Okay, so if they say this statement of, like, I hate the way that you parent your kid, that could create a big emotional response in you. If you like the way that you parent your kid or you don't see a problem in how you parent your kid. If someone just off the wall has something to say about, for example, how you parent your kid, right? Or how you clean your house or how you don't clean your house, you might want to have, an impulsive reaction. If you stay curious, you can really ask questions in your own mind or even to them if the moment is appropriate where you're like, why do you say that? Right? So a lot of times what happens is we get defensive before we are curious about why they're even saying what they're saying or why they're thinking what they're thinking. If you stay in curiosity, it's going to serve you because what they're saying is not going to be as offensive if you just get into their brain and try to understand why they're even saying that in the first place or why they think that. If they're like, I don't like the way that you parent your kids, rather than now fighting and not speaking to each other for 6 months, what if you're like, why? What is it that you see that you don't like? And they will probably tell you, well, I don't like how you gentle parent, or I don't like how you yell and scream. I don't like how you pat them on the butt. I don't like, how you put them in the corner. I never did that with you. Right? Whatever it is that they're saying. And now you have clarity of what they perceive as being a wrong course of action or what they don't like or what they disagree with. And if you wanted to continue the conversation, you can say like, well, what do you think I should do? It doesn't mean you have to take their advice. It doesn't mean that you have to suddenly change all of your parenting skills, because of one person that's disappointed or voicing their opinion. It just means like you stay in curiosity, you stay in your emotional power, and you get really curious of why they're thinking what they're thinking and what do they think you could do better. And you might like what they suggest. And you might also be like, I don't agree. I don't like it. Right? And they're allowed to be mad if you end up not doing what they want you to do. But you can leave the conversation very cordially, right? And be in a good place and not have this explosive experience all because of something someone said. So stay curious. Remember that everything is neutral until your brain attaches meaning to what is being said. So again, neutral. It's neutral. It's totally neutral. It's just a sentence, right? I've told clients sometimes when they've been mad that their mother-in-law or their father-in-law or their sister or their brother or their spouse, has said like a sentence that has bothered them. I'm like, count how many words are in that sentence. And a lot of times it's like 5 to 7, right? And I'm like, do you want those 7 words, that one sentence, to control so much of your emotional life? Like, it's neutral. Why does it feel like such a problem? And it's okay if it does. I don't ever want to dismiss that you're going to also have your own emotional experience. There are sentences people say to me and I don't like them. Okay? And so I don't dismiss my own emotional experience and gaslight myself for having the emotional experience. But when I'm ready to actually dive in on the work, I ask myself, why are those 7 words controlling so much of my life? Do I like that they're controlling my life? Do I like, what I start thinking whenever I hear that sentence? Do I like how I feel about the person who said it to me? And if I don't like it and I don't want it to negatively impact my relationship and I don't, want to fester over it, then I know there's some inner stuff I need to work on or get coaching on, or I need some help getting through it. So if any of my clients are listening to this, or any of you that end up in the hybrid experience when you have these moments, if you're having trouble getting through your situations and it's emotionally draining you and taking, like causing you to self-sabotage and just really taking you off the course that you want to be on in your life, get coaching, ask for coaching on it, okay? Because it's such a bleh place to be. There's so many other amazing things you could be doing with your time, and you could be feeling so much better in your body. You don't have to let this stuff control you. That brings me to observing what is happening in your body, because what's happening in your body is a result of what's happening in your mind a lot of times, okay? Our thoughts are what create the emotions we feel in our body. So if someone says something to you or they're communicating something with you and your body starts to feel that knee-jerk, yucky response and you're just really swimming in the emotional river of misery over it, right? You need to be aware to know like it's whatever thoughts are surrounding those emotions in your body, right? Like the emotion comes after the thoughts a lot of times. So it means like you might be thinking they're stupid or they're judging me or, I hate when they bring this up or they're so unforgiving. Like all of those statements that I just said are thoughts. And if those are thoughts that you're having, your thoughts then create certain emotions in your body: disgust, annoyance, frustration, anger, sadness, right? And based on how you feel will then determine what actions you take or don't take in your life and then what result you're going to get. So to really get to a place where you're able to listen non-defensively, you need to stay curious. Remember that everything is neutral until your brain attaches meaning to whatever is said. Observe what's happening in your body. And knowing that whatever is happening in your body is often coming from the thoughts that you're thinking about the person, about the situation, and you really want to stay neutral, okay, in order to be in the most clean, non-defensive place. All right? I know this was a little bit of a longer episode, but I hope that it helps you and I hope it's informative. And if you do know someone who may benefit or needs to listen to it, share it with them. Again, you don't have to harass them. They will listen if they want to listen, but I do appreciate you all sharing the podcast and episodes that resonate with you that other people need to hear. And I love when you reach out. Feel free to reach out, introduce yourself, say hi, let me know that you listen to the podcast. I always love meeting my listeners. And again, remember, today is the big day. It's early enrollment of the hybrid experience. If you feel you are ready to go to the next level in your life and you want to check out more of the program, go to MacyRenee.com. If you have any questions whatsoever about any of, my offers and what may be best for you, schedule a consult. We will talk about it. And based on where you currently are in your life right now, I will point you into the direction I think would be the best fit based on the goals that you have in your life. All right. Have an amazing day. Bye. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macy Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macyrenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macyrenee.com anytime you want so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.